Did you know that the Ford Escape is Ford's second best-selling vehicle? So when they came out with the new Escape last year, it was a pretty big deal. Well, for 2021, it gets another new big deal. This is the Ford Escape plug-in hybrid. One nice thing about the new Escape PHEV is it's just a regular Escape. It doesn't look much different at all. A couple of different things. First off, you do get these exclusive 18-inch PHEV only wheels. You also get, of course, some badging that says plug-in hybrid, and you have the charging port on the other side. Other than that, this gives you all the goodness of the regular Escape. All PHEVs other than the base model get standard LED headlamps and tail lamps. You do have the proximity key. Open the door, lock the door, easy as that. It does not work for the rear doors, however, just the front door. And on the top trim and the mid trim, you get a standard power lift gate. This is the titanium trim, which is the top of the line. So this has the power lift gate and also has the hands-free option. And you know what? Ford was the pioneer of this, and it's pretty well one of the best systems out there. It works pretty well every time. Just one little kick and down it comes. So once you open it up, there's lots of room. All right, before we start, let's hit that button. It's showing that we have 43 kilometers of range. Now, this Escape PHEV is supposed to have a range of 60 kilometers. Reason why it's saying 43, it's because it's calculating based on the last drive that it had. And depending who's driving it, you know, if you're really heavy on the right foot, it's going to go down. And depending on the drive, you might have a lot of hills to climb. So we're going to see what that's like. And we're going to reset right now the trip odometer. So everything will be completely reset and see what we can actually get out of this. I'm not going to try to get the best fuel economy on here. I'm just going to drive this normally like I normally would. So into drive. We are in Kelowna, British Columbia right now, and we are heading to Salmon Arm as our first stop, and after that we're going to Revelstoke. All right, let's go. So the exterior pretty well looks like any other brand new Ford Escape, right? It's what's underneath this vehicle, under the skin and under the hood is what the biggest difference is. So under the hood is a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder gasoline engine. And then you have a couple electrical components. You have a 96 kilowatt electric motor, and then you have a 14.4 kilowatt hour lithium ion liquid cooled battery pack. Now, unlike other PHEVs in the past that Ford has had, where they've had the battery in the actual passenger compartment, this new Ford Escape PHEV, they've placed the battery underneath the vehicle, meaning there's no compromise on utility for passengers and for cargo area. There's no difference between this and the regular Escape. So total output, 220 horsepower, and the power goes to the front wheels only. This is not available in all-wheel drive, not yet anyways, and that goes through a variable transmission. Now there are several different drive modes for this vehicle. Well, let's call them EV mode. So there's an EV button in the center console. So if we press it once, you go into auto EV, and that's kind of your normal default operation. So what that's going to do when you start it up, if you have a lot of charge, it's going to run on electricity only or run as a regular hybrid vehicle depending on the conditions, and it's kind of like it's going to do it all for you. Then there is EV Now, which means that it's only going to be an EV only. So if you want to just go pure electric, that's what you're going to use. However, even in EV Now mode, if you let's just say floor it, it's going to kick on that gasoline engine. Or if you're going to go in excess of like 85 miles an hour, which is, you know, over 130 kilometers an hour, where the gasoline engine will kick on. Next one will be EV Later. Basically, it's saving the EV. Let's say you're on the highway, you want to use the gasoline engine right now, but you're going to be in bumper-to-bumper traffic in the city, and you want to save it for the city. You can save it for later. And the last one is EV charge. And on EV charge, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's going to run the gasoline engine to power the vehicle, and it's also going to run a generator to charge the battery as well. So 4 different drive modes, and the nice thing about this vehicle, and I've said this on other PHEVs, is for myself, I love these vehicles for short trips. For instance, we live very close to the grocery store, to our school, to most of the activities that the girls do, and it's these short little trips that really kill your gas mileage on any vehicle. So having a PHEV that will not revert into the gas engine is a big benefit. Meaning if I have a 60-kilometer range and I'm only going to drive 40 kilometers on any given day, I technically won't have to burn a single drop of fuel. Now, in order to do that, though, I will want to put it into EV now, just so it doesn't kick on, because if it kicks on for those short little trips, that will eat into your average. But if you put it into EV now, the climate system for heating or air conditioning does not require that gasoline engine to be on, which is a big bonus. We're on a mountainous road right now. We are kind of in traffic, not really, not like rush hour here, but there are some large transport trucks that are going fairly slow because we're going down a hill, and yeah, they have to be safe. So when you're going down a hill, there is regen braking, and I think Ford has actually tuned it very well on this regen braking. It's not really aggressive, however, it's there. You can feel it when you're actually going down and you are putting some ions back into that battery. There is no other option for regen braking. Those, some other vehicles might have a different a paddle or a switch where you can select what level of regen you have. It's nice if you have some really steep hills, let's say, that you're going down, but this one does not have it. The brakes do feel very good. You don't really feel the transition from regen to friction brakes at all. And let's see, right now I got the gasoline engine on right now. We're doing 50K. Let's put it to the floor, see what this thing does. It's actually fairly responsive, especially for the variable transmission. All right, here's a little update. We are basically about 50 minutes into our little journey. We're not in a hurry. I've been actually sightseeing around, checking out some lakes and stuff like that. 48 minutes basically we've been driving for. We've driven 41 kilometers. And out of that 41 kilometers, 31.5 of those kilometers have been electric only. So we have used a little bit of fuel with this, but we're mainly doing highway speeds around 90 to 100 kilometers an hour. We are averaging, for fuel economy wise, 1.6 liters per 100 kilometers combined for the gas engine and the PHEV system, which is very respectable for sure. We are on Highway 1, the Trans-Canada Highway. This highway will take you from the west coast all the way across the country, and in this area, this portion of it, it's a beautiful drive. Big mountains, trees everywhere. It's not summertime, there's no forest fires or anything like that. A little bit of construction, but the roads are in fairly good shape. Lots of good twisties here, and what I'm surprised at is that this vehicle, even though it has a fairly heavy lithium-ion battery, that weight is slung nice and low, so of course the center of gravity is lower, makes it feel more planted. However, it doesn't feel heavy. Some vehicles, you really feel the weight of a battery, whether it's an EV or a PHEV, and yes, it does help in handling, but you do feel like you are you're pulling and carrying a lot of weight. It's really filling. Well, this is kind of like, this tastes great, but it's less filling. It does not feel heavy at all. It just feels centered and planted, if you know what I mean. Does that make sense? Anyways, handles really, really good through all these corners. And a couple times I've had some crazy big truck drivers come right up on me when we come to the passing areas. And I had pulled out the pass, and I'm seeing them approach me at some pretty high speeds, and I put my foot into it, and it had no issue bringing me, and I was already doing over 100 kilometers an hour. So getting me up over, let's say about 125, 130 kilometers an hour, just a little bit, just to get ahead of them, so I wouldn't have to actually, I couldn't slow down. Anyways, so it did it without issue. That's the beauty of the PHEV. You actually have the aid of that electric motor, and that really helps, especially on just the initial kick down when you need that little bit of get up and go. It's very, very noticeable. Let's talk a little bit about the interior of this new Escape PHEV. Once again, this is the titanium model, so one big difference is, instead of a 6.5-inch gauge display, you have a full 12.3-inch digital cluster on this titanium. You also get a pop-up color head-up display on this one. You get a large panel roof, heated seats, heated steering wheel. This one's equipped with this wood grain trim, and I like the look of it. Most wood trims you see are dark wood. This is nice and light. It's kind of bright. Down below, you have a rotary gear selector, and you have those buttons that I was talking about. You have your auto parking, you have your EV button, your parking modes. All that's down below here. Lots of room. In the back, once again, because the battery is down below, this is exactly the same as the regular Escape. You have 60-40 split seats back there, plus they actually slide back and forth 6 inches. That's a huge, huge plus, either for cargo for the rear or for passengers in the rear, depending on what you're carrying and what you need more room for. The cabin is fairly isolated and quiet. I can hear the engine when I put my foot into it, which is good. It's part of the experience of driving, listening to that engine. However, there's not a lot of wind noise, there's not a lot of tire noise, and we are running winter tires on this right now because we are on these mountainous roads, and I believe it's required at this time of year to have winter tires. So yeah, nice quiet cabin. Here's a cool thing I want to share with you. I have my navigation set to our destination in Salmon Arm, and this is through the sync system. I do get turn-by-turn directions in the head-up display, which is really cool. Now, I have my iPhone here. It's unplugged. I'm going to plug it in. This does come with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Check this out. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's giving me the address of our destination that we had set in the sync system. I'm going to hit go.
Starting route to 251 Harborfront Drive Northeast.
So, do you see what happened there? I did not have to go and do anything else. It actually means that this sync system and the navigation plays with the Apple Maps. So I don't have to actually go and manually enter in the address. It was seamless. It's absolutely seamless. And that's, like, once again, the first time I've ever seen that. Charging that lithium-ion battery from empty is going to take about 3.5 hours on a 240-volt level 2 charger. You're going to plug it into your regular household outlet. You're looking at 10 plus hours to charge it to full. A lot of people want to know, how does this compare to the popular Toyota RAV4 Prime, which is also a PHEV? Well, they are very, very similar in a lot of aspects. So size-wise, this has a longer wheelbase by about 20 millimeters. This is about 10 millimeters shorter, but it's the wheelbase that you want because that's going to give you a smoother ride, and also most of the time it gives you more room inside as well. This is quite a bit wider by 27 millimeters. You have more front headroom. You have more front legroom, rear legroom by 75 millimeters. A little bit less shoulder room in the front, and cargo capacity is also more on this PHEV with 974 liters for maximum capacity. The Prime does come in all-wheel drive though, which this one does not, and it has 302 horsepower, so it has more power than this Escape. However, you are pulling and hauling more weight though by 413 pounds on the RAV4. That's a lot of weight. That's, 2 or 3 extra people you're carrying for the weight. And meanwhile, the size is very, very comparable to the Escape on here. So, it's kind of like it's kind of evens out a little bit, right? If you do want all-wheel drive, once again, you can't get it on the Escape PHEV yet. Maybe it'll come. You never know. And then if we compare prices on both this and the Prime, this one loaded up, which is the titanium with the premium package, will run you about $46,000. The RAV4 Prime in its top trim will run you about $56,000. So that's $10,000 more. So you have to think, is all-wheel drive and a little bit more power worth 10 grand for you? And remember, a lot of these PHEVs qualify for either government, federal or provincial or state incentives or rebates. So, check where you live. In Canada here, there's a federal incentive, also by province. In BC, there also is one, as well as Quebec. In BC, you'll get a total of $4,000 off this vehicle. And in Quebec, you get up to $6,500 off. If you take a top trim titanium PHEV like we have here, and you factor in that rebate, it is less than $2,000 more than a top trim Ford Escape Hybrid, the non-PHEV version. I think it's around $1,800 difference. To me, I'm gonna go PHEV. Now, if you have no intention ever to plug it in, or you have nowhere to plug it in, hey, go for the hybrid, go nuts on that. But I have a detached house, plus there's tons of chargers around my place. A lot of them are free. I'm gonna plug in, and I'm going to, for under 2 grand, I'm gonna do it. If you live in Quebec or other places where you have even a larger incentive, well, then it's a no-brainer. I believe in Quebec, it's actually cheaper than the hybrid. Then why would you buy the hybrid? I don't think they're going to sell any hybrids in Quebec. I wouldn't. I would just seriously just buy the PHEV. Now, there is that one question. How hard will it be to get one of these vehicles? Because we all know what happened, or what's happening, even with the chip shortage. But even before the chip shortage, that RAV4 Prime, great vehicle, loved it. Has a little bit more range as well. I think I got 70 kilometers out of it for EV only, so about 10K more than this. But you can't get one. There's like a 3-year waiting list to get a RAV4 Prime. So are you willing to wait 3 years when you can actually save yourself 10 grand and get one of these? I think this is a very, very good value proposition for sure. Oh, and did I mention that when you're driving a PHEV with a battery of this size, most of the time in a lot of jurisdictions, this qualifies for HOV lane access with a single occupant. So that is a huge, huge bonus. I'm always a big fan of that. Okay, our battery power is basically run out. It's showing 0 kilometers now, and it's showing we have successfully done 56.8 kilometers of electric only driving. And one thing to notice, it was at 0 for quite a long time. I would say probably about 3 to 4 kilometers before, and it's showing 0. So we got in, every little last ion out of that battery, 56.8, which is pretty close to the actual 60 kilometer range, considering we're basically doing 104 kilometers per hour on the highway right now. So usually electric power doesn't benefit from higher speeds. You have a lot more resistance, air resistance. So I'm glad. This is really good. 60 kilometers, totally doable. I would say if you were running about around town, if you don't have a lot of hills, for instance, you're going to get more than 60K out of that electric battery only. We're now showing 1.5 liters per 100 kilometers for our average fuel economy. And here's something a little bit interesting. Our electric kilometer range is actually still going up. Maybe not as fast, but as we're driving, it is slowly recharging and putting more juice back into the battery, and it's reverting to EV mode whenever it can. So that's also a big bonus. Just because you hit 0 doesn't mean that it's not going to go into an EV mode. With that being said, this still gets really good fuel economy. The combined fuel economy with highway and city driving is rated at 5.8 liters per 100 kilometers, and that's pretty representative here. And we are doing some faster highway drives, so it evens out for sure. Where this is going to shine, if you are doing commutes that are less than 60 kilometers, or just even if it's just a little bit over, you're going to be using less gas. But if you're within the range of this EV range, that's where it's going to really shine, and shine really bright. This titanium is equipped with the B&O stereo system. If you like good, clear music, you're gonna love this, especially the bass as well. Now, I wish I could play some regular commercial music for you. I was listening to Fleetwood Mac a second ago. It sounded so good, but I'm gonna play you some music that I have the rights for, I've paid for, and let's go a little tropical boombox. I don't know if you can really hear it really come through the fidelity with this little lav mic that I have, but let's bring it into the next segment with this song. Well, that's it for our first drive of the brand new Ford Escape PHEV. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe. I think a lot of people are going to be very pleased with this vehicle when they go and test drive it. It's got a lot of pep. It gets amazing fuel economy. You have that aspect of going just EV, which is the best of all worlds, and you don't have any range anxiety at all. And I think Ford has done a very good job packaging this, and I think it's priced very competitively. The only thing, it doesn't come in all-wheel drive, and for some people that may be a deal breaker. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. It really does help the channel out, and I hope to see you on the next Everyday Review. Cheers.